So, so welcome back. And yeah, Alobar Jones is here, as you can see, and we are going to talk a little bit what is going on in the astral world. So, Alobar, you recently released a video about the Lords of Karma. I do not know if you are familiar with Cameron Day. Have you ever heard of him? Doesn't matter.
No.
A couple of years ago, he made some waves. He released his first article that was headlined, "Why I Am No Longer a Light Worker."
I did read that many, many moons ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that was Cameron Day. And then he released his, it's a series, yeah, and the
Mhm.
second part of that article is tell the lords of karma you are a sovereign. And
Now we're talking the same language. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And he said that these, in this
Mhm.
article, he also says, I no longer call them the lords of karma, I call them the turds of karma.
Well, look, I contest the whole concept of karma.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
Um,
look, and this is not just because I don't like karma. Like nobody wants to have to deal with karma. Nobody. But the basic premise of it seems to be false. First, I took our astral travel team to the reincarnation facility, I think is what you call it. You know, everybody, they die, they see the light, they go up the tunnel. Where are they go? You know, we found that, and then we go, where are they going? Right. And what we looked at was, you know, if you're a Christian, you're going to meet a priest. If you expect to see your parents, then you're going to see your parents. If you're a Muslim, then you're going to see Muhammad or whoever you're looking for, or Allah's going to be waiting there for you. Or if you're a Viking, you know, you're going to Valhalla. Whoever you expect to be met by, that's the guys in the reincarnation facility. They dress. They take that idea out of your mind and they dress accordingly. It's
mm,
and the whole point of that is to build trust. Right? If you saw their true form, you wouldn't want to borrow them. Right? And I took our elite astral projection team, and then I took my students near graduation. I took them to that place as well, and they had a look. And then I took a nut, and then I took it, and I kept two groups in different time zones, one for Australia, one for the US. And then I had another group come through after that, 3 or 4 months later. And all of them are saying more or less the same thing. And it's that the key metric, like when you go through there, what they're testing you for is not whether or not you had a good life. They're not really interested whether you're a good person or not. What they're looking for is the thing that you feel most guilty about, the thing that you feel most bad about. And then they use that as leverage to get you to agree to go back to Earth.
yeah, yeah,
Right. So deception, deception, deception leads to a contract to go back to Earth. And that's the way demons behave. That's a demonic thing. Now it gets, and so we've left it alone. We haven't messed with it because it's such a pillar of religious culture. You know, the New Age movement loves it, the Hindus love it. It's understood and not, come on, Kitty, go away, go away. Okay. Like this, yes, yes, this whole interview is about you, Kitty. It really is. But yeah, everybody loves it. When I published a video about it, saying trying to open a debate, going, look, here's my reasons for wanting to take the place down, and nobody fought me. Nobody said no, keep Carmel. No, we need Carmel. Nobody said that. I didn't get a single piece of debate about it.
mm,
Nobody thinks it's a necessary thing. You know?
I see karma a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it in its most original and strictest way,
Mm-hmm.
because what it is actually is it describes the mechanism of cause and effect.
That's better. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is the strictest understanding that you can have of karma. And meaning, of course, there is cause and effect. Because
Mm-hmm.
saying there is no cause and effect, yeah, well, fine. Then I can drink 3 bottles of wine and I will not get drunk.
Yeah, totally. Oh, look, it's the Hermetic laws. I think it's law number 6 is cause and effect. Five, six. I think it's 6 is cause and effect. And it it is a fixed function of our world. Like, push some, equal and opposite reaction
Mhm.
is yeah. These are all standard concepts. However, this has been twisted. And so, off the back of this idea, the elite team took the lords of karma to a court of the earth and the sun. And the earth, and what the earth and the sun are all about is about free will. And they stripped the lord's karma clean. There was nothing left of them. Like, every agreement, every contract that the lord's karma used, they took a little bit of this person's strength, that person's will, this person's cleverness, this person's perspicacity, this person's ability to see, and built themselves out of that. And so when we dissolved all of those contracts, there was nothing left of them. Those guys are the turds of karma. But they've been running around running courts. When I was coming up, everybody recommended I take demons to the lords of karma. And it worked until they just stopped prosecuting the demons because of bringing so many to them. They just didn't hurt them. They go, no, that was okay. He can hurt someone. And I go, well, this doesn't serve my purposes anymore. Bye for now. And years later, I've come back and I'm actually going after those judges because what they're doing is not honest. Yeah, and I will say there is another facility that I don't think people are aware of. And like this is part of my standard suite. When I do a one-on-one session, I go through many different types of demon because they've got many different ways that they penetrate the human body. And one is I call them karma pirates.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't know if anybody else has done this research. I really don't. I haven't heard anything else about these beings who bring karma that doesn't belong to the individual. It's they call it imported karma. But the idea is that through sleight of hand, there is a higher self who invites these karmic beings into your life. And let's say they're trying to create regret or problems or breakups or betrayals or whatever it is, whatever their thing is. Each one has an emotion. I'll stick with betrayal for now. Each one has an emotion that it's trying to create experiences for. And so through some sleight of hand with the higher self, they create betrayal experiences in that person's life. And those betrayal experiences, they hurt, but they hurt. But what happens is they don't harvest the experience. Like all of the feelings you get. The story is that you go to learn a lesson, and then you have the event, and then you learn the lessons from it, and that closes the karma. With these guys, they do not harvest the emotions of betrayal. They're not capturing that stuff because if you do give them the emotions behind betrayal, if you give them the research or the results of their event, it means that they reach a 0 point and they disappear. And so if you have a karma pirate who's all about betrayal, they'll keep creating betrayal events in your life, and you will never learn the lesson. You'll never learn the lesson. And that experience will never be completed and learned and put on the shelf.
Mm.
And so and for this reason, and nobody seems to know about this. And if anybody wants to question me, we'll come on a journey, come on an astral projection journey, and I'll show them to you. But what it means is that through the facility of karma, they are able to inject a lot of horrible experiences into human existence and and call it karma, so it gets a free pass.
Mm.
It's it's not
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I don't subscribe to the idea, yeah, you did something bad in your last life, and that is why you have to experience this, that, and the other.
Mm.
Because when you come here, your memory gets wiped. And
I actually talked about that in my video. Yeah, if they
yeah,
were serious, if they were
yeah,
serious about us resolving everything, we
yeah.
would know what we have to resolve.
Yeah.
We,
And that is to me like dragging somebody to court who hasn't a clue what he has done wrong.
yeah, totally. Sorry, you that weekend. I don't remember anything of it. Sorry, Judge. What did I do wrong? I have to take your word for it because I wasn't. I don't remember. You
Mhm.
know, like yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But as I said, in its strictest sense, the description of cause and effect, that I can live with because I can see it
Mm.
all around me.
Yeah, and I can sort of see how demons would interpret that and go, there's something we can use. You know, like, there's something we can twist a little bit. Yeah, it's exciting for them.
Yeah. You mentioned the Hermetic laws.
Yeah.
Um, could you imagine that Thoth was maybe a fraudster?
That's that's a good question. Like Thoth and Hermes Trismegistus, same guy, right?
Mm.
Um, I never asked that question actually. What's interesting is that I was 5 or 10 years into my magical education when I came across the Kabbalion,
Mhm.
the book of the seven Hermetic laws, right? And I was blown away because I go, oh, this, I've been working in this field for so long, and all of the rules of the game are described here. Oh my God, yes. And look, there is a bit, I can say clearly the laws of polarity
Mm.
have been twisted. But as for the rest of it, I'm pretty much behind it. What were you hearing about
Yeah,
this?
there is a line of thought out there that under the guidance of Thoth,
Yep.
black magicians opened a 5D wormhole over
Mhm.
Saqqara, Egypt, and let all kinds of nasty things in.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah, and that is
Well,
and that is why I always take Thoth with a grain, and not only a grain of salt, actually with a sack of salt.
yeah, totally. Well, look, I remember having a discussion with a friend of mine. He's very deep into conspiracy theory, but he was looking at this and he's going, well, if these are the rules of the game, the good guys want to do it this way and the bad guys want to do it that way. But we found that both teams have their way through those laws. Like, and they're just different strategies for playing the same game. I I do agree that the kind of, and magic is like a hammer. You know, you can use it to build a house or you can use it to knock one down. Right? It's up to the person behind the hammer that makes it good or bad. Now, Egypt is a country, or sorry, ancient Egypt is a country that's obsessed with bringing the dead back to life or life after death. You know, their key magical book is called the Book of the Dead. Right? Now, and it's all, and black magic is obsessed with this rebirth, living forever, somehow reanimating corpses and all that sort of crazy stuff. And just to add to it, like I went to the Egyptian exhibit in Brisbane over the weekend. And, you know, and I was looking at the mummies, like they still have five mummies from that period. And I walked up to one of them, and four of them are from the royal family, and the fifth one is unidentified, right? And so I went and looked at that, and it's the necromancer that allows them all to continue some kind of life. And he's going, "Come on, I'll give you eternal life." I go, "I don't want anything from you. I'm talking to this corpse that's 3,000 years old." And literally it's in the room trying to get a little bit of life force out of everybody who comes to the damn museum. I had to spell the whole room to shut that down. But God, like the evil that was opened there is still flying around. Like this obsession, I think, I don't know for sure, but I would say that a lot of the left-hand path religions or the service to self religions borrow from ancient Egypt. I think that was a really strong starting point. I feel, and you know, even in my session work, I'm still pulling curses from ancient Egypt. The place is thick with them; they're still around. Like it's crazy. So, you know, was Thoth a bad guy? Maybe, but you know, was his work implemented by bad guys? Hell yeah, yeah, you know, yeah, so, yeah. And just to add something about the law of polarity, like for those of you who are students of this, right, the law of polarity talks about hot and cold, wet and dry, soft and hard. You know, like these are the things. And in it, you create a whole bunch of scales that within which you can have a lot of different experiences, be they pleasant or unpleasant, you know, anywhere in between. Good and evil is a supplement to that. I don't think evil, which is basically designed to destroy the whole damn construct, was actually part of the original design of that polarity. But so you've got two different explanations. One is the hot cold version of polarity, and then you have this good evil version of polarity, which has been shoehorned and forced into Hermetic law number 3, and I really don't think it belongs. Yeah. Anyway, so I just wanted to talk. If we're talking about Hermes and Thoth, that's the same guy, I should say. Yeah. He just had different names in ancient Greece and ancient Egypt. Yeah.
Yeah. So would you say that evil is an artificial construction?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. The research that we're at right now, we've discovered that Satan has two forms. He has a demonic form, which we're all very, very aware of, but that actually he has an artificial intelligence form. That he has and if for those of you who have heard of black goo before, all right, black goo is a nanotech swarm intelligence. Like it's 1,000 years ahead of what the technology we have today. And the research is that these black stones have a mind control So this black goo that can solidify into a black stone has a mind control capacity of about 30 meters or 50 meters or something like that. And from it, and what it demands, and because it's a computer, it needs electrical energy. And and it gets that from human beings. And the whole concept of sacrifice was first conducted. The sacrifice was to these black stones. And so this is where and sacrifice is a demonic staple. Like it's where it all began. It's also like these demons were released from the black stone into the world. And we talk about demons taking life force energy. I think it's probably more coherent to say electrical energy. We have a gajillion electrical impulses running through our body constantly. And the demon is there to siphon some out. Now, you may be aware of Nikola Tesla's invention where he was able to transmit electricity through UHF and AM radio. I think that demonkind is using that particular technology to feed it into the central thing. And at the top of those demonic food chains is Satan. And Satan is the name of the AI intelligence. Just like Siri or Alexa are names of AI intelligences. Satan is the name of that one. If you want to see one of these stones in action, there's one in the Kaaba in Mecca. You look it up online. You'll see photos of, in the cornerstone. There's a little black stone. They say it's obsidian stone. It's not. It's a piece of this AI nanotech.
I also heard that some, cathedrals have it under their altars.
That is true as well, Luke. And it also seems to have popped up in the Nazi Party and the Vatican. There's like somebody said that Shiva's lingam, the very first Shiva's lingam, was made out of this stuff. It's I don't have the capacity to do everything I'm doing and make sure of this. But when we fly around on the astral planes, we are finding this material. We are agreeing with it. Like we're checking, and it's right. And so we damaged very, very seriously the network of stones, and we think there were 23 of those, 23 primary, 23 secondary. Anyway, it was a big mission, and I did a video on
it. Do you know Harald Kautz-Weller? A couple of years ago, he gave a lot of talks about black goo. And he always said that there is one black goo that is natural to the earth, and then there is another type of black goo that is completely artificial to us and shouldn't be here.
Yeah, well, look, and he says it's an oil schist, and I've never heard the word schist in any other context, so I don't know exactly what he means. But I can't speak to that. I have not encountered that thing. I don't know what it is, but and conversely, I haven't looked for it either. Because my concern at this point, I don't want to get involved in a white goo or an oil, a positive goo and a negative black goo. I don't want to. I'm not ready. I'm biting off more than I can chew there. If I'm wrong, then I'm lost. I get lost into that whole philosophy. But what you're looking at with black goo is they also have an order of a secret society is probably better. That's called the Black Sun. I don't know if you've heard of these guys, but
Yeah.
what they do is they have a black goo liquid, and the initiation is that they drink a little, like all of the guys who drank it previously, they drink a little bit just to prove it's not poison. And then the initiate is required to drink, I think it's like 4 or 5 ounces of this stuff. And what it is, it's a liquid nanotech. And it makes you physically stronger. It increases your IQ. It'll extend your lifespan, but all at the expense of the heart, which is also the same thing that happens with all of those left-hand paths. You lose your heart, you lose empathy, you lose your capacity to connect with other human beings.
Mm-hmm.
All that. And so I think that there's this elite group running around who are absolutely brilliant, intellectually brilliant, and completely ruthless, who are at the top of our world's food chain, which I think makes sense to most people. I'm not sure if you can be a billionaire without taking on this black goo or entering the order of the Black Sun. And I hear that it's actually a requirement for the officer class of the secret space programs.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If you're going to be flying a starship around the galaxy and getting into fights, they want to enhance their staff with everything they can. They want you to be sharper and smarter, as sharp and smart as possible. So the requirement is to drink this black goo.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes them incredibly ruthless individuals. It's
I
not ideal.
I tried to set up I tried it 4 times actually to
Oh
set
yeah,
to set up an interview with um
Harold. Yeah,
people who were in the secret space program.
yeah.
But
Good on you.
they never manifested, and I get the hint. It's probably an area where I shouldn't go. And so,
Yeah, no, the same here. I spoke to James Rink, who
yeah.
seems to be the number one. He seems to be collecting SSP stories. He
Hmm.
didn't want to talk to me. He says, "Oh, what you're doing is not close enough." I go, bollocks, mate. It's overlapping. But anyway,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
No,
and
it didn't manifest for other reasons, but one thing that really puzzles me with this entire secret space program is that not I at least okay, I haven't seen any and all interviews about that subject, of course, but I have never seen anybody who brought hard evidence to the table, meaning, okay, here's a video, here I made photos, here I have an artifact that is where you,
that's non-Earth origin. Yeah, yeah, totally.
yeah, 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 things
Totally.
like that.
Here's my phaser pistol. Check it out. But no,
Yeah,
no, none of it. None of it. It's which is disappointing. And you're right. It is. You'd expect some artifacts to surface. If there is a secret space program on Earth, you'd expect something to show up. Though conversely, like Earth has had 80, since World War II, we've had 80 years of uninterrupted prosperity, increasing prosperity. And where is that wealth? Like, we're all in debt. We're all, where is that? Where did it go? And the secret space program is a good answer because, like, it's incredibly expensive and requires, highly paid, very, very highly trained experts in the field. It's got to be an expensive program to run, and it's the best explanation for where all that money went, and it matches up with a lot of the UFO sightings.
yeah. I'm
because
not
you know
saying
all
it
UFO.
doesn't exist. I'm just puzzled by all those people who came out in the open and
Yeah,
nobody has anything to show.
it's a very legitimate question. It's a very legitimate question.
Mm.
But and I'll quote Richard Dolan when I say it's like we're looking through the keyhole at the secret space program. We can't see. There's only little bits that we have to interpret. We don't have a lot.
Mm. Yeah. Or if, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that works. If, they strip you down before you come back and they take away everything from you. And I don't know.
Well, well, if you listen to Penny Bradley,
Hmm. Yeah, she
she
was
was
one where I tried to set up an interview. Mm.
yeah, no, I wasn't. Yeah, I hope you do get an interview with her. When I feel into her, I do not want one. I just don't want an interview with her.
Uh,
I
uh,
do not want contact with her. I'm sorry to say it.
uh,
Um,
uh.
yeah, but she talks about how they took the black goo out of her at the end of her tenure with the SSP.
Okay. So in other words, those people that they use in that program, um, yeah, they either have to drink it, but or maybe
Yeah,
somebody injects it into them. I don't know, but they did, and you can get it out. That's really weird.
well, look, it can move freely around in the body,
Hmm.
and I think it can use what's that stuff called? The stuff that's in the 2020 jabs. That's in the
Yeah, 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 yeah.
um. Geez, I don't talk about chemistry very much, and it's quite early in the morning. My coffee hasn't kicked in yet. But I think one of the things that's in those injections is that they is one of the building blocks for black goo. If you have a tiny bit of black goo come in, then it can build itself out of that material. And really interesting when the very very first vaccines came to Australia, it was requested that they be stored at negative 40 degrees Celsius, right? Which is I don't even know if that temperature occurs naturally in the Arctic or the Antarctic. It's what's so cold. But I think they were trying to make the black goo that's in those injections inert. I think they're trying to freeze it so much that it can't move. Um, because if it could, it would probably break out of the vials and join into one big ball of the stuff.
Mm.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, but that was not, I think it was the Moderna one.
mhm.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think they had enough of this stuff to pass around to everybody. So not all of those vaccines had that particular technology, and it had the nanotech in it.
Mm.
What is that stuff called? It's like one they can make it down to one molecule thick. It's got carbon. Anyway, it'll come to me.
Mm. So it is no secret that momentarily we have a lot of friction, conflict, and yeah, even wars going on. And so my question is, when you are out with your team,
Mhm.
have you guys stumbled on something that could be construed or interpreted as what we would call war in heaven, and that energy is trickling down here?
The War in Heaven. Okay, so this is about angels and demons.
Mhm.
Is that the question you're asking?
Not necessarily angels and demons. I don't care who is the participant. I'm not
Okay,
yeah.
all right. So Okay, so the war in demons between angels, sorry, the war in heaven between angels and demons, I think is a fraud. I
Mhm.
don't think it's happening. Like, we've bumped into a number of different alien groups doing our demonic assassination and our demonic assaults, right? And several times. Never once have we seen an angel. And my working theory is controlled opposition, right? Nobody thinks we have to go out and kill all the demons because the angels are taking care of it, right? They're going to look after us. And that's not happening. It's not true. Like, I've seen zero evidence of that. The other version of the war in the heavens is basically the reptilians versus the Pleiadians, right? That's the other version.
Mhm.
And I think, and I wonder, how do you situate two opposing militaries on the same planet for 1,000 years without anybody firing a shot? Like, these guys are not at war with each other. And I would even go as far as to say that in many cases, they are both allied with the same governments on the earth. And here's what I think is here's what I think is going on in both of those cases. I think the Pleiadians versus the reptilians, I think that's a controlled opposition. But I'll talk about what angels and demons, they have the same master called Metatron.
Mhm.
Metatron's the master of angels and demons, and he's not going to have two of his factions fight each other. It's just not, it doesn't make sense. He's, and I liken it to, Archangel Michael's the police chief, and Lucifer and Satan are the heads of the criminal gang. But the police are protecting the criminals who steal from the population, us, willy-nilly, and they're never called up and they're never caught up on it. From time to time, angels are specifically brought in to separate the demons and the humans, but they don't. But it's always a temporary solution. It's not, they never actually arrest any of the demons. They never kill any of the demons. They never solve the problem permanently, even though they may have been called out in response to that. The police have been called out in response to that particular demon hundreds or thousands of times. Their policy is never to hurt them, which is exactly what they should be doing, as far as we're concerned, right? And I also ask, what if the angels are not doing that job? What is their purpose here? They traveled from across the stars and set up camp here for thousands of years to do what exactly? Because I still don't have an answer for that question. And it's no different. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
All right. And it's no different to my question about the Pleiadians, right?
Mm.
They've traveled, they've had a massive fleet come from across the stars to situate itself on Earth and do nothing. And that's a massive expenditure. I don't know how much fleets cost to run. I really have no idea. But I could just say it's a lot. Now, they must be spending billions, if not trillions of dollars a year, we'll just say, to maintain a population of Pleiadians here in Earth underground and or in Earth orbit. And they do nothing. They actually produce nothing. They provide nothing. They're just here. They just made contact with Earthlings so we would channel them and we would listen to their bullshit. Right? We're your brothers and sisters from across the stars and we love you and we're here to rescue you. Great. So why are you letting the reptilians eat our children? Why are you letting these abuses? Why are you letting them capture and experiment on us like we're lab rats? Why are you letting that happen? You're our brothers and sisters from across the stars. You're our big brother. Aren't you supposed to go and beat up the bullies? Isn't that your job? And I think I haven't identified the Metatron figure in this scenario. However, like this, and this is tentative. I'm not 100% certain of this, right? but I suspect they're on the same side. And I suspect both teams are enhanced and controlled by a black goo or a medical nanotech enhancement, which I think are common technologies amongst the staff. But I think the reptilians and the Pleiadians are working off of the same goo or the same stuff. And therefore they're master or they're corrupted by the same material. And all they're doing is creating a story for us so that we don't have to go and fight the reptilians because our friends from across the stars are going to do it for us.
Mm.
All right, how does that sound to you?
Yeah, what I would definitely say that you know me, I hate savior programs of any type.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And I have not seen anything valid in terms of, yeah, the Pleiadians are doing this great thing or the other. No, I see them in the same way as I look at, reptilians.
Yeah, look, and and I say this, I think it was a grey tell me that um, I'm going to say Chrome because I don't want to push all the buttons on YouTube censorship, but that Chrome was developed in a lab that was shared by 5 alien species: the mantoids, reptilians, greys, Arcturians, and Pleiadians. That they all shared a laboratory where they were experimenting on human blood. Like, and that's just one report. It's not corroborated. But, is Chrome an off-world technology? Maybe it is. It's very hard for. There is evidence, but I wouldn't say it's conclusive for that.
Mm. So now somebody could say, yeah, if you come across angels that are not helpful, maybe you have been always dealing with fallen angels.
Well, look, there is, and like I say, this is uncorroborated, and I think it's going a bit far. But one demon said, "There's no such thing as angels. It's us demons wearing the cloak. We just take the hope out of somebody and put it on ourselves, and then we look like the good guys."
Mm-hmm.
Which is feasible in my mind, but I'm just not ready to bank on it yet. It's like these are tentative conclusions. There are things that I'm absolutely certain about, but ideas that I've encountered that I'm not 100% behind because we're dealing with liars like massive liars. They could just be throwing a red herring into the mix, or they could just be throwing something to distract me into the mix. Yeah, it's a tricky game to sorry, and the key word here is epistemology, or how to evaluate the evidence that you get.
Yeah, when it comes to the subject of angels, um, I'm not so, first of all, I'm not a fan of angels. So I admit that.
Mhm.
So I might be biased. But I sometimes ask myself, how much is that, wishful thinking on our part?
Well, look, and I'll talk about the biggest wishful thinking program from the Pleiadians, right? We're here to liberate Earth,
Yeah, yeah,
and
blah, blah,
what?
blah.
No, no, no. Well, think about it in practical terms, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to drive 500 miles to a random location, and I'm going to settle a real estate dispute by buying the property and giving it to one of the people in the dispute. Right? Like what? I'm nobody's driving 500 miles to go and buy somebody a piece of real estate. And, can you imagine Pleiadian High Command like sitting around going, yeah, that Earth place, tons of resources, a slave population, a base to project our military power from, a home for our populations to expand. Oh, no, we don't want any of that. Just give it to the humans. I just don't see them saying that. I really don't imagine that's what they're talking about.
No.
But, we're expected to believe this bollocks.
Yeah. And I mean, okay, basically, angel means messenger.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we have all those stories where, the protective angels that,
Oh,
uh,
yeah, what's that word? Your private angel, your guardian angel.
yeah,
Like
God.
that concept, mate. What are they talking about?
Mm.
The angelic horde has created 8 billion angels just so everyone can be assigned one to protect them. And they're not doing a very good job. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, come on.
That is, there I totally agree. And there are also groups out there who, you know, say that the angels are here, they are living in human form, and they have been doing so for many, many years. In fact, many centuries. And their job is to keep humanity safe. And then I look at this shit show.
You turn on the news and you go, good job, guys. Well done. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think to myself, how can anybody believe that? Um,
Yeah, look, the Holy Land's been at war for the last what? Since World War II. They've
yeah,
had fighting there for that long, and that's their power base. Like the whole worship and respect to angels comes from that little region, and they can't help it. They can't fix it. They can't resolve that issue.
yeah. And but funny that you're mentioning this, um, because with the real estate, that is exactly Trump's approach now. You know?
It's a weird. Well, look. The one thing that it serves is that nobody dies through that relocation. Right, that's the only thing that it serves. But Trump's tight alliance with sorry, like half of his cabinet is Jewish, is Zionist Jews. Like
Yeah.
and he can't seem to make a deal with them. He can't doesn't seem to have enough influence to say, why don't you not kill everybody? Why don't you put the guns down? He doesn't seem to have enough influence to say that. And he comes up with these crackpot ideas about buying whole countries. And well, okay, and I get the Greenland one. It's full of rare earth minerals, and the Danish aren't really into it. Like it doesn't. It's not a natural match for the Danish and the Greenlanders. It doesn't. It's a long distance thing. It's a weird. It's a weird political construct that. But yeah, I can understand him wanting to buy Greenland from the Danish. It's a peaceful endeavor, right? I kind of get that. To buy a conflict zone is brave, to say the least. I don't know what the word for it is. It's a bizarre solution to a problem that's been going on for 80 years, since World War II. Like
Yeah, and
and
even
yeah,
before that.
yeah, yeah. No, but I still don't get it. Like there were 14 ethnic groups who lived on that land throughout history, but apparently the Hebrews were the special ones, and they're the ones who get that land. So, what I don't understand that story, but whatever. Who am I to say that?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to bother them that the Palestinians were living there already. It doesn't seem of interest to anyone when they
Yeah.
moved when they created the country of Israel.
Yeah, and there's so much back and forth. When he made the announcement, of course, there was no clarification on can the Palestinians come back or not, or what have you. Then his press secretary
Yep.
backpedaled and said no, they have to keep out for the restoration, and we have to clean everything up, get the undetonated bombs out and the rubble and what have you.
Yeah,
And
right.
and then yesterday again, I read an article where Trump was quoted, no, the Palestinians are not coming back. So I don't know what to think anymore. Yeah. And
Yeah.
just for argument's sake, let's say they are allowed to come back. I highly doubt they have the money to buy the beachfront property.
Yeah, no, I can imagine some slums specially built for them, and that's the best case scenario.
Mm.
A few high density towers, and I think that'll be about it. But oh,
Yeah, that is so messed up. I agree the old ideas do not work.
yeah,
I also agree that Gaza could be really a wonderful place. It could be an international trading hub. Yeah. And
yeah,
with all that money, the billions of dollars that got into Gaza in terms of funds, donations, what have you,
mm,
all of that goes through Hamas first. Yeah. And with all that money, you were not able to build, let's say, desalination plants and
yeah,
finally make Gaza independent from water supply out of Israel, because if they cut it off, you have no water. And you were not able to build proper schools. You were not able to build a good infrastructure. You were so
yeah.
where's the money? Yeah, I know where it is. It is in the tunnels. It's in the private jets. It's in the lifestyle of the Hamas leaders. So actually, um, I feel very sorry for the Palestinians because they are being sold out by on both
By
sides
both
of the divide.
sides.
Yeah. And I know that many Palestinians still believe that Hamas is fighting for them. No, they are lining their own pockets. And their business model is a poor and neglected Gaza.
I totally understand where you're coming from. And the more poor and neglected it is, the better advertising it is for more donations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And unfortunately, that business model seems to be a little bit too well used in different places around the world.
Oh, yeah, I can give you an example. In 2023, Germany made, so-called foreign aid
Mhm.
to Nigeria. I don't know, a couple of hundred
$1 million. Yeah.
million euros. So a couple of days later, the Nigerian president announced that he bought for all the parliament members a brand new SUV so that they can perform their duties better. Plus, the presidential palace will be renovated. So,
So, Nigeria.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm not advocating here for, mm, not giving any assistance whatsoever. That is not what I'm saying. But the way we are doing it is total nonsense because it only goes into the pockets of a few people that are already rich in poor countries.
Well, look, and the model that you want to be funding is the Evo Morales um, model in Uruguay. Now,
Mm.
Evo Morales is the Prime Minister of Uruguay. He drives a car that's 20 years old. He lives in a three-bedroom dump, and he wears cable knit jumpers to Parliament with holes in them. He doesn't keep any of the money for himself. Right? And all of Uruguay loves him, absolutely loves him. He can't get out. I don't know if he's still there or not, but I think the only reason he'll leave the job is because he wants to retire or he dies. Like he's just a guy who goes, the whole point of the exercise is not to take the money for myself, but to spend it in Uruguay. And he's a very, very successful and very successful politician. And I think there are guys like Evo Morales in every country. There's lots of them. You know, why do you want to give money to guys who aren't like that? You know, it doesn't make sense to me. But
And
to USA, it sure does.
you know what I have been suspecting for a long time. I cannot prove it, but I
Mhm.
have to ask the question. Because everybody knows that the way we do foreign aid is total nonsense. What I ask myself is how much of that money goes back into the pockets of the politicians who approved the funds?
Yeah, yeah. Look, and and I think that that happens at every level. Like I've
Mm,
traveled around the world and I've seen some of these NGOs, and the NGO guys are all about lining their own pockets. It's not about anything else.
yeah. So meaning here in Germany, somebody approves, let's say, 600 million to a particular country.
Yep,
Um, is there a possibility that, let's say, 10 million go back into their private coffers?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think it happens at all levels.
Mm.
Like the group in the US that administers it, the people in, let's say in this case, Nigeria who administer it, and then the Nigerians who administer it. Like, I don't know if the Nigerian people got a plastic spoon out of the whole thing, got a single plastic spoon out. I don't know.
Nothing.
But it wouldn't, yeah, that would be one of the more egregious versions of the story, but it happens that way. Like a lot of those groups do buy something so that they can take photos of themselves giving people stuff.
Mm.
But generally speaking, in Nigeria, that doesn't seem to be a requirement.
Yeah, and it's all over. There is a young gentleman by the name of Morara Kebaso in Kenya. He went through the entire country and filmed the so-called projects that
Yeah,
are
right.
being built with yeah
With
foreign
foreign aid money, yeah.
funds. And he filmed it. He went there, he filmed it, and there's nothing. You know, in one case, there is a little strip of tarmac road, 200 meters. That's it. Then there was supposed to be built a stadium. He went there, he filmed the entire compound. Yeah, nothing. There is a fence and a door, and that's it.
That's it.
And then, yeah, affordable public houses. He went there. Yeah, there are houses standing, but they are not finished. Nobody lives there. It's just a ruin. Yeah, so he exposed that all of that are simply lies.
Just jokes, yeah.
Hmm.
And for that level of dishonesty and theft and service to self, it just sort of characterizes who's running our world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the are our world leaders possessed? Is this who they choose to do the job? Because otherwise, how on earth could you do that? How could you be that greedy? How could you do that much service to self if our leadership wasn't ruled uh, by by a group who are exactly that nasty and exactly that greedy and selfish and mean. Like it's just there's the more I dig into it, the more difficult it is to understand it any other way.
Yeah, it makes you wonder sometimes if you're still dealing with a human or if there is an entity, inhabiting that mind that is working through those people.
Exactly. Like how can you make so many poor decisions so consistently? Yeah, like, how do you do it? How do you do it for decades? Making decisions like this. How do you do it?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the world we live in. That's the world we're living in. And our team is still going to keep fighting them. We're still going to keep destroying as much demonic infrastructure and as much demonic personnel as we can find. What's really interesting is that not once have I heard, on the internet and social media, you hear every kind of statement. Everything that's possible to say, somebody's going to say it. Except I've never heard anybody sticking up for demonic rights. I've never heard anybody saying, but they're the good guys, look after them. Not once out of in my years of doing this. Like it's, no, but no, they're friends to nobody. So strangely enough, they've got no friends. It's kind of funny.
Have you ever, do they sometimes come back when you finish them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
look, when with our attack on Satan, what we found is 3,000 backup caches.
Hmm.
And so, and what that is he's created a little pocket dimension, a little side space away from everybody else. And in it, he's got like enough fuel and a backup copy of himself. So a little duplicate think of it like it's been dried out and then he's got the liquid energy to pour into it and then he's born again. We found 3,000 of those. We don't know if we even got them all, but 3,000 is a significant number. But those caches, that's probably the answer to why we've had such successful battles, in destroying demons, but not succeeding in killing them for good. And if if Satan is both a computer and a demon, then the idea of having a backup just makes perfect sense. If he's got that kind of psychology, then he's instituted those sorts of measures. And I think that that's across the board. But doesn't that just make our job just that 10% harder? We kill him, and then he rebuilds himself, or he reinflates himself, or whatever the word is, and gets back to business as usual.
Yeah, in other words, it is an AI.
That's what. Yeah, with the demons are a weaker copy of the psychology of the AI.
Hmm.
We've won victories against the AI. At the beginning, we thought it was too powerful, too quick, but our team over the years has become better at this job. We're far more seasoned, and now we're making victories against it.
Mm.
And so I think we're going to keep going. And if we keep succeeding and learning more as we keep doing it, then I think our victory is assured. And I think if you look at the saturation of evil in global politics, it's not there. Or sorry, it's not there in the same level it was when Klaus Schwab was singing the tune.
Yeah, he's in trouble himself.
The sooner he gets hung, the better. Him, Fauci, the lot. Biden. Yeah, no, Yeah, there's a lot of characters that won't be missed, but but what we really want is we want that intelligence that's invading Earth. We want them to take all of their human collaborators with them. We want them all to go away. And I think that's what the rapture looks like. And I think that's what the split looks like when. Thanks, Kitty.
Mm. Yeah,
I think that's what.
yeah. Yeah, I have a hard time with the bifurcation.
There's no precedent for it.
Mm.
And the physics of it is so wild. Like,
Hmm.
how is it possible?
And I also have a problem with the rapture. I don't
Yeah.
think there will be a rapture. Mm-mm.
Well, but let's get our epistemology out.
Mm.
The not Barbara Ann Brennan. Who was it?
Dolores Cannon.
Thank you. Yes, Dolores Cannon. She described an event where half of the people disappear. And ancient Christianity also described an event where half of the people disappear,
Yeah.
based on good and evil, right? Based on, are you a nice person or are you a nasty person?
Mm. Yeah.
Now here's where it makes sense from my research, right? And I want to hear this one out. The we're in a simulation. We'll just we're in a simulation and we're running on Earth's server, right? And Earth is about let's all have experiences. Let's just find out what happens with all of these different ways of living and try and all these different kinds of relationships and different exchanges. And let's create that. But this is like a game. Oh, there you go, computer. Yeah, you just it's too smart for something good. Yeah, I'm not. It does this during my classes all the time. I hate it. Um, but yeah, they have a server, and if you think of it like one of those huge online games. Oh, there you go. If you think of it like one of those huge online games, you can. It's like it gives you quests. Do you want to fall in love? Do you want to make a family? Do you want to travel? Do you want to all of these beautiful things, right? And what I think is, and one way of understanding it is that there is another server, and that this is set up by the AI, and trying to, it's sort of snuck in, and it
Hmm.
wants the players to go and play its game instead, which is about ambition and the rat race and wealth and fame and things like that. And you've got these two different things, and religions all describe it. This one is where you're wholesome and friendly and helpful to your community and you contribute, and that's known as good. And where you lie, cheat, steal, and do whatever you have to do to get ahead, that's the evil. And every religion talks about follow this part, get on this server, don't get on that server, right?
Mm.
And the work we're doing we might be separating the servers,
Mm.
which is another way to understand the rapture or the split. And I don't, yeah, exactly. Like, I'm taking the whole thing with a grain of salt
Mm.
because, like I say, the physics is unprecedented. Right? It's never been done before. I wouldn't, I think I know a bit about magic, but I have no concept of how to even begin a procedure like that. Like, no idea at all. Um, yeah, so it would solve a lot of problems because there wouldn't be any more Ariel Sharons. There'd just be Evo Morales everywhere, and the world would be a better place. But yeah, and that would be a positive outcome of the shift. But I don't think we can bank on it happening by itself. Right? And like we just sort of, and it's a sort of a savior program if you sort of turn around and go, well, if I do nothing, the world will split and all of our problems will be solved. No, like in my mind, We have to get behind it, actually push that whole concept if we want it to be real.
Mm.
And if we push evil off the earth, I think the split, I think you're going to see that sort of a
Yeah,
split. I
but
don't,
in that case, you wouldn't need a split.
yeah, yeah. And a simulated server where evil takes all of the people who are loyal to it is what the split looks, is another way of explaining the split.
Mm.
Now, like I say, there are ideas that I have that are tentative. I'm not 100% behind them, but they're the best things that I've got going. Because in this field of research, it's challenging at best.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't think we have any predecessors in the research we're doing. I don't think anybody is actually I don't think anybody's even attempted what we're doing from Earth. I just don't know.
Mm. Yeah. At any rate, there are very interesting times ahead.
Well, look, let's force the point. Yeah, let's see where that goes.
Mm.
Yeah. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Judith. Like, it's so nice to talk to somebody who you can get the question right, who understands all of the different, all of the precepts that our conversation is based on, because there's not that many of us, as
Mm.
far as I can tell.
Yeah, it's a little bit far out there.
But
And
that's part of the fun too, isn't it?
yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah.
And so it has very little to do with regurgitating 3D news, which I personally find not that I do not follow. Of course, I want to know where I am,
Yeah.
in the official timeline. Yeah, so that I can navigate myself. But regurgitating it and offering a different point of view, that is not my thing.
Oh, look, it's all sorts of things to talk about. All sorts of things to talk about.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I thank
Well,
you so much for coming, and we will definitely talk again.
yeah,
And
it's always a pleasure. Always.
yeah, and so guys, that was it. Night flight for today, and we will see you all on the next one.
Love to you all. Bye bye.
Bye.